Okay. All right. Okay. I think we should be good there. Thank you all so much for your patience today. As we get started, just wanted to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to grab some food. If you're in person, please feel free to grab a plate. We have restrooms in the back, to your right, if you need to use any facilities. And then if you all have any questions at any point, we ask that today you raise your hand and respect each other's comments. Try to keep your side conversations to a minimum. And just as we continue, wanting to make sure that we acknowledge the land that we're on. We, as the city and county of Denver, honor and acknowledge the land in which we reside on, which is traditional territory of the Ute, Cheyenne, and Arapahoe people. We recognize that there are other tribal nations that are historically tied to the lands that make up the state of Colorado. We honor the past, present, future, and those who have stewarded this land throughout generations. We also recognize that government, academic, and cultural institutions were founded upon and continue to enact exclusions at any races of Indigenous people. May this acknowledgement demonstrate a commitment to working to dismantle this ongoing legacies of oppression and inequities and recognize the current and future contributions of Indigenous communities in Denver. Great, so welcome everyone. I want to take a moment to let everyone introduce themselves. Many new faces, some regular ones. So I just want to, if you are online, feel free to drop in the chat. Well, actually, why don't we do introductions to everyone? So we'll start in person, and then we'll go back online. Elizabeth with SC2 doing field engagement for the Trendle Community Vision Project.
Luis Bloca-Tan from Heredia.
My name is Alfonso with the GS Coalition.
That's both the same, working on the plan. Sarah DePietro with NewCo.
Mike Richard, Nuco.
Clint Jitsu with National Western Stock Show.
I'm Brendan with Focus Points and Resource Center.
Jessica Reyes, a new blog captain.
Shannon Hoffman, GS Community Investment Fund.
Hi everyone, Steve Nally with the National Western Center Authority.
I'm Deja, your blog captain.
I'm Jan for that.
And part of the, sorry, well, and part of the guidance.
All right.
Great, online Armando, I see you first.
Armando Plan from Globeville.
Lori Larita with National Western Center Authority.
Nola.
Hi, good evening. Nola Miguel with GS Coalition.
Ryan.
Hi, good evening. I'm Ryan Sotarakis with the planning team.
Isaac.
Isaac Cruz, blog captain.
Nicolas. Candy.
Candy Sedevaca from Swansea.
Jen.
Jen Winkle, Swansea.
Sandra.
Sandra Ruiz, Globeville.
Frida. Eduardo.
My audio is not very good, but I'm Eduardo Gonzalez from CSU Spur.
Casey.
My name is Casey. I'm a block captain and I live in Globeville.
Hey, anyone that I missed in person or online? Great. So on today's agenda, we're at a midpoint between the end of phase 1 and in the middle of phase 2, before heading into phase 3. So we're wanting to evaluate where we're at, seeing if there is any need for adjustments. Today's meeting is really about us meeting to discuss, what's coming up next, but also really to hear about what you all are wanting this process to look like, to continue to look like. What's been going great so well and what we've been hearing in the community. And so we'll take an opportunity to do some order captain report outs like we usually do during these meetings, but we also are wanting to have an intentional conversation around the fall schedule and a group discussion as a whole. So today really is about participation. I really want us to have a good discussion, a lively discussion, a respectful discussion as we move into the next phase 3. So as we head into the group discussion, as I mentioned at the beginning, please feel free to chime in, raise your hand, respect each other as we're having some of these discussions. And at any point, if you all have any questions throughout any of this, please feel free to let us know. And then we'll go over some next steps as we head into the rest of the time. So as we have stated, the meeting purpose is really wanting to evaluate and adjust where we're at. Take a breath. Really, we've accomplished a lot together in phase 1. As you all saw during last month's guidance to meeting, we were able to put together that phase 1 report and dashboard of the work that you all had some, purpose in doing this well, and some of the work that you all directly did impacted those reports. Block captains were able to knock over 3,000 doors in the 3 neighborhoods. We're able to really hear from some community members about what they are wanting the next phases to look like, and what they're wanting this China community vision plan to look like in reality. And so we're wanting to take a pause, take a breath, evaluate how things are going, and really adjust for the future as we head into the rest of phase 2 and what will be phase 3 of the work. That's anything you would want to do here?
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's great. We're gonna get into it.
Great, so for captain report outs, I'll start just so that you all know what block captains have been up to. We finished phase 1 door knocking, which was really when block captains were focusing on knocking doors for survey number 1. Given that survey number 1 closed, we shifted the transition of block captains to be at community meetings, still talking to neighbors. In the last 2 weeks, we have wanted to ensure that everyone that was not door knocked during phase 1 still gets a touch point from block captains. So we are finalizing those door knocks with the first block captain program. So the block captains have smaller lists, given that this is really still giving a touch point with neighbors, but wanting them to know where we're at in the process, about the process in general, and also really thinking about what's coming up in the process. So sharing out the questionnaires, the community workshops that are all available online for you all. If you all weren't able to go to the community workshops in person, you're able to see the community workshops virtually, the slides that accompany it, and answer the same questions that folks at the community workshops were able to answer at the little tables if anyone went to the workshop. So all of those are available online. And so that's the focus that the block captains are doing, is door knocking to the doors that we were able to get to during phase 1, and continuing to let neighbors know about the program and push them to attend some of the community workshops. So essentially, wanting to make sure that we are able to still complete the entire neighborhood list before heading into the end of phase 2 with survey number 2. Block captains, anything to add?
And can everybody online hear Elizabeth? I just logged on so I can check the chat, okay?
You can hear pretty clearly.
Okay, great.
What happens? I don't know if you see hands. Yeah. Yes, we are taking, so yeah, so we have, yeah. Oh, yes, so yeah. Here, I talked to people. Yeah. So we have, you know, there's a lot of bad comments and because I prefer to discuss that like, because I don't wanna like, you just get in trouble by saying something that so people feel like we're attacking them, so I prefer to stop it. But we hear good comments that a lot of people they like to do that house the single homes. That's more, it would be better for them, and a lot of people say, well, like, we would like to environment. So there were a lot of different comments. So we would like to we still been doing a lot of other things with the church and some, for example, next Friday to see to some more things. But a lot of people they're coming from like from city outside, yeah. But we got a lot of people that we know, and so we would do it for them. Want to hear that? Yeah, yeah. Walk up are also tabling what could run up farms on Fridays and on second Saturdays at CSU Square. So they'll continue to be tabling throughout the entire summer. And people share.
We might just want to summarize that really quick, so I think it's.
Yes, yeah. Yep, everyone can hear me online. Nancy shared that she and Sandra tabled at what the run-up farms on Friday. There was a mix of good comments, bad comments about the ideas and processes for what is currently happening. Nancy feels comfortable discussing with me one-on-one, so we'll be touching base this week. But ideally, from some of the positive comments that Nancy shared, she said that a lot of folks did share that they would like to see single family homes as well as a mix of apartment buildings as well. So wanting to relay that on as a comment for everyone else. Any other block captains comments on the chapter one for that?
I have a question
Yes.
about the upcoming piece about the doors that were reached in phase
Yes.
one. Are we gonna talk in later this meeting about where we're at in the process and what's coming up in the process?
Yes.
Okay, so then we will have a quicker trail of what
Correct.
we said on the doors.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
I ask a clarification.
Yes.
When people say good comments and bad comments, and I feel like it's helpful, that's kind of a generic judgmental sorting. And this is all about getting many comments, contrasting comments, having a conversation. So I'm really concerned about, people shouldn't feel offended or attacked or anything. I think it's a creative process. And we need to get rid of this vibration in the background that it's either this or either that. And I'm asking you as facilitators to really step up and bring out the depth in us as participants. If somebody has a comment and it has an insight, it's not about if it agrees or disagrees with something. It's about, does it fit a constellation of solutions to what we're trying to deal with, housing, environment, enterprise, and how much of that can happen on the track. So I want people to feel like we can have a discussion, that we're not continuing this facilitation with a competition of ideas. So I'm asking for the greater wisdom.
Yes, yeah. I don't know if folks heard online too, but I'll summarize too. Wanted to make sure that we gave authority to share good and bad comments. And if you feel comfortable, if you we wanted to tell good and bad comments.
I don't want good and bad to be the judgment.
Right.
I'm not sure what that jargon was, sorry.
Okay,
I'm just saying, let's talk about what the comments are. Like, I want to know what people have said in details for application and if for implementation, and so we can discuss it relative to the positive possible impacts on these three neighborhoods in particular. So I want it to be, what are the benefits of privately owned housing versus what are the benefits of, community owned property? What are the benefits of this? What are the benefits of that? It's really practical, non-jargon stuff, please. It helps bring people in too.
Yes, great. And I think for that, you wanted to see a Nancy sample sharing.
No, I'm not targeting anybody. I'm reassuring Nancy that, I'm reassuring all of us that I'm making a connection with the hesitation. I'm not targeting anybody. I'm just saying to all of us, it was a good example that we can possibly find. And if people are comfortable talking with you individually, instead of bringing the material to the group, then somehow we have to report into the conversation what that is. So yeah, I'll let it go now, but I'm concerned because this is familiar as to what's been going on that has caused discombobulation and the lack of real good creative harmony in the process.
Yeah, I just to pick up on that, I definitely do agree. There are not good comments and bad comments. All comments are fantastic. That's what this process is about. So if you agree with something and you disagree with something else, it is okay. That is what this is about, right? And so as block captains, you guys make sure that that you're writing them all down or capturing them so that even if you don't come to a meeting and talk about them, that you're getting them to us. Just that's really what's most important. And all conversations are part of building toward this ultimate plan, so we really want to hear everyone's opinions and thoughts and concerns, right? Because that's what we'll have to address as we go forward.
And sometimes contrasting impressions and ideas combine into a whole new solution.
Yeah.
And that's what I want us to discover.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other block captains, comments, questions?
Well, I think for me, this brings up the question of how are we collecting the insights from the block captains to Amy's point and bringing that into the broader conversation. Can you speak to that process a little bit?
Yes, yeah. Typically, with the block captains, we've been having one-on-ones. We have like a set question list that we go through. We take notes on our end that we are putting together for the NWCO team at like the checkpoint piece. So these last 2-3 weeks, we've been having one-on-ones with block captains where we're discussing various pieces, but of course, as things come up, like the idea is that we are here as a resource. So if there's questions, comments, as folks are out tabling or continuously door knocking, that is something that definitely there's one person. It should be everyone should be comfortable coming to those pieces, but just as we continue to have the process, block captains have me as a resource, and then we relay that information. Yeah.
Do y'all take notes in band? Okay.
Yes.
But we cannot, my opinion is that I'm not gonna share names and phone numbers. So if I want to share, I will talk to Elizabeth, but that would be not the person that I will share names and phone numbers.
Yeah, I think it's then how can we get the high level, kind of like what you were saying earlier about people want single family homes. People are also interested in apartments. That's giving the information without naming the names. And that's really helpful information that you're gathering. So figuring out how we distill that.
I understand what you're saying, but it's if people is trusting us and saying something and not try to get in trouble with someone else, they will come directly to us and let us know. And if we want to share, we will share. So as I see at this point, if I want to share, I'll share with Elizabeth, and that will be the only person that I will share. Because I don't want to cause any trouble or misunderstanding, so I prefer to talk to her. And if she wants to do something else, that's gonna be.
Yeah, and Nancy, that's okay. Whatever makes the block captain comfortable, like, it's okay. Just make sure that Elizabeth gets the info on it so that we know what they're saying. And not who, just what they're saying.
And
Are
how many-
multiple avenues, oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, is it one person, is it 10 people?
Yeah, is it 20 people or just one?
No, it's
Yeah.
like 5 people.
Yeah, so that's good info for Elizabeth to know, and then that will help us.
And block captains do have multiple means of writing down or processing their information. They have a weekly report that's due for hours each Sunday that has different opportunities for them to input conversations that they had. What did they hear? Phone numbers to write down. So every Sunday, if they're submitting their hours, they're also submitting those questions along with minivan having an option for notes. So there are multiple avenues.
¿Es usted que no quiere compartir la información o es las personas que no quieren? Hay personas que vienen con su servicio.
That's the way to translate.
The question is that you, that doesn't want to share information, or is it that one's for it, is that one?
Vienen personas con nosotros y nos dicen comentarios y ellos mismos nos dicen, pero no queremos facilitar nuestros nombres para evadir algún tipo de represalia. Entonces nosotros como yo sí pregunto, oye, pero ¿por qué vas a tener que crees que X persona, X lado va a tener represalias contigo? Dicen ellos, porque ya las hemos tenido, entonces yo prefiero manejarlo privadamente. Y cuando eso se nos pide a nosotros privadamente, es como no voy a compartir. Así me digas tú, hagas lo que hagas, no te voy a dar nombres, al menos que la persona me diga, ¿sabes qué? Si vi mi nombre, porque yo estoy de acuerdo, no hay problema. Yo lo voy a decir, pero mientras tanto estén diciendo, mira, yo sí tengo miedo a represalias porque ya lo hemos visto y no me quiero arriesgar. Entonces yo le voy a comunicar aquí, ¿sabes qué? Hay una persona, pasó esto y esto otro, te voy a dar nombres, pero espero que no pase de ahí. Y espero que sea entendible porque...
Did you get all that?
What time out, hold on.
Just to summarize, it's coming from the individuals, so they mentioned to us that there has been retaliations before for sharing information, so it was a specific request on their behalf, just to avoid that. So, her reason is share with her, and then if she wants to go about it, then that's all of them, or if the individual can share.
Y eso es lo que hacemos, y yo creo que debemos de respetar lo que la gente nos dice, porque pues aquí nos conocemos todos. No es de que digas, oh, tú vives en Swansea y no conoces gente de allí. No conocemos la mayoría. Entonces, cuando ellos, la misma persona dice, no quiero tener mi información, porque más no quieres, ¿qué me dijiste? Lo escribimos, conocemos la persona, sabemos quién es, pero si ella nos dice, no quiero compartir mi nombre con nadie más, no se comparte. Y yo creo que es algo
Hey, Nancy, can we break it up to get some interpretation? So we can-
Again, it's due to that, it's per their request and it's a matter of respect, so if the individual telling us to not share their information, it's a matter of respect, it's not sharing it, just to avoid, we all know each other in the neighborhood, because we live in one neighborhood, the other one, so kind of similar to that.
Y entonces eso es más una cosa. No es de que yo no quiera compartir. O sea, a mí con mucho gusto me daría, mira, tal persona dijo es mi historia. Pero no son cosas como que las tenemos que tomar muy en serio. Y si esta persona ya recibió, pues, represalia de X persona o X lado, tampoco nos vamos a poner a arriesgarla ni a jugar con la seguridad de la persona. Entonces, ese es el motivo. Como nosotros la hemos recibido, nosotros mismos, pues también tenemos que tener cuidado con las personas que nos están comunicando.
Just to summarize, it's our responsibility, and it's a matter of safety.
Can you talk a little bit?
Yeah, just to summarize, it's a matter of safety and it's a matter of respect, so people are requesting that we share information. It's our responsibility to that, so we do write down their name and their information, so we have it. but again, it's just perspective.
Oh, wow.
It's just not sharing. Absolutely.
So I appreciate you, give this little more information, for all of us, I totally have no need for people's names or addresses or any identifiers to be visible. If that's their information you're talking about, I feel like the thing that we need, the process is, sorry about that. The thing that this process has to be enriched by is why people think something that they want to see happen would be best for the stabilization and vitality of the neighborhood. So if somebody wants certain types of housing versus other types, if they want combinations of types, I don't think we're just redoing the survey. If we go to table, and these many people said they want apartments, these many people said they want an ADU, these many people said they want a land trust home, these many people wanted apartments. That's just redoing the survey. And that skews the statistics anyway, because they may have already done the survey. What I want is, I want to know, I want them to make their case for how it's really important for a neighborhood to have these options, if people are going to be able to live there from the cradle to the grave, and we have the stability of the neighborhoods, and how can the triangle provide for that, for how can the triangle help provide that sort of thing. So my concern is that we're missing people's thinking. And that's what this is for us to get creative. So I'm asking people, whatever is going on with conflicts and all this, please, everybody's ideas are important. Nobody's ideas exclude anybody else's. And we're going to have a combination of solutions, some of which we may not have thought of yet. So please encourage our peers in the neighborhoods. And this is what I do. I say, hey, imagine what it would be like if you had, a baby and a great grandmother, and you had 10 people in between there, and you didn't want any of them to feel like they had to leave. What would you need in this 10-block area so everybody felt they had a home? And it's amazing comments come up. So anyway, I just want to encourage the positive support. If people have anxieties, that their thinking and their perceptions are very important, and we need to make notes of those and bring them into the conversation. And I hope we can get more and more of that.
I'm not sure if the interpreter was able to catch this, but.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, not that. I mean, I don't know if you, but Nancy used a specific word that people are concerned about retaliation.
Yeah.
Which is something that I think goes beyond what you're talking about. So, yeah, I don't have anything to say that. I'm not sure if I heard that translated as one of the main concerns of these people, that they fear retaliation.
Recording in progress.
Como también con nosotros como líderes nos ha pasado que hemos tenido represalias por andar con X parte, X lado, y hemos tenido represalias nosotros como andar ahí de líderes o metiches como le quieran poner. Y créeme lo que es, o sea, es preocupante hasta dónde llega en por qué no te pones de acuerdo. Obviamente nunca vamos a estar de acuerdo en que si tú tienes la razón o yo la tengo, siempre va a haber algo, una barrera ahí, pero yo creo que nos debemos de comportar como lo que somos seres humanos y tratarnos con respeto, pero a veces no se ve del otro lado. Entonces yo entiendo mucho la posición de las personas porque yo he estado ahí. A mí también no me faltan para enseñar mensajes de texto, todo lo que me han mandado, amenazas, o sea, no cuesta nada, pero sí hay que.
Again, we've lived retaliation before. We've done stuff like that just for being associated with certain groups. So again, I would love to share certain information, but we understand that we've lived with before. So this is a matter of respect one another, and we just have to respect that individual.
Y yo creo como lo que dice aquí, está bien que ella quiera saber, pero aquí estamos hablando de la seguridad de las personas. Si las personas nos están indicando a nosotros, ¿sabes qué? Yo vivo en esta comunidad y yo quiero que sienta esto, pero ni yo me siento segura. Yo creo que nosotros ahí debemos de respetar esas decisiones de las personas Y nomás te voy a decir que también me dijeron eso, y es otra X persona, pero espero que tú guardes el nombre, nomás lo tengas para ti. Si yo me entero que Lisa le va a atender y yo le conté algo en privado sobre una familia o una persona, y yo me entero que ella lo compartió, oye, tú estás haciendo que yo te pierda la confianza. Entonces, ¿qué prefiero hacer? Me quito de mi confesión. Entonces, aquí es como yo digo.
And that people wanted to know, again, if people share this specifically about their information, how want to be shared for the same reasons. I think it's our responsibility.
Okay.
There's a couple questions online, so I want to.
And I do want to know, I don't know if online, if you're able to hear the conversation that's taking place in the room.
Sandra just said that the interpreter can't be heard. Could he come closer to the owl?
Dr. Kavana, we're bringing him up closer, yes. And then maybe we pause every so often, and we'll just kind of relay the conversation that's happening in the room, just so that, I know it's hard to follow when you're online.
Sandra.
Yeah, okay, Sandra, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Hold on just a second. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, so I think an important thing is that when we go and talk to our neighbors and there's different comments, we have to be respectful of what our neighbors want. And also we're trying to gain their trust, because it's not like we go and talk to them and they're gonna open easily just because of the trust issues that we have in our neighborhood. And that's something that we have to take in mind, that whatever our neighbors tell us, yeah, there's gonna be some comments that we're gonna be sharing, and some comments that we're gonna share them just with the whoever needs those comments. Just because we have to be respectful. Also, another thing, we have to give credit to the residents that are going and doing this outreach, and any way they can do it. We cannot say, oh, you have to do this better, or you have to do that better, because we're trying, and we're like the ones giving our face. We're the ones that are talking to our neighbors. And there's, like I said, there's a lot of trust issues. People start talking about all the service that they have done, and everyone that has said that they're gonna do something and they don't do it, and things like that. So it's kind of hard also to gain the trust. And once we gain that trust, we have to be respectful of what they want us to share or not. And we also have to give credit to the people that is doing the work, and we cannot expect that everyone's gonna do just the same thing just because someone is more experienced and wants more technical stuff. And we are community, we are residents. We're just trying to listen to our neighbors. So I think that's another thing, we have to be respectful of the people that is doing this outreach work.
Yes, thank you, Sandra, that's great. Understood.
We have an interpreter online too, so we should be fine.
Okay.
Just so everyone's clear. Any?
It's when he's translating in the room.
Okay.
And you
That's where
just
they-
say,
yeah.
all right. Shall we move?
Yeah.
On? Okay.
We wanted to take a minute to also have organizations report out now that we're at a midway point. We want to hear, what excites you most about what's ahead. And also one recommendation to manage future conversations, which I think we've been leading into today. And we want to continue these conversations. So, trust, this is not easy, and it takes a while to grow that trust. So as organizations, these two questions were the midpoints of our conversation that we want to have with you all, and have an opportunity for guidance team to also hear and chime in as well. So anyone would like to share?
A mí me gustaría compartir, pero en español.
Sí, está bien.
So como ahora ya estamos también como organización, una de las cosas que más me han emocionado es poder también involucrar a las personas mayores y a los jóvenes.
Nos das un
Porque
minuto
sí.
para poder.
Yeah, jump in. One of the things that's excited me most is being able to involve elders and the youth as well. Adelante, Charlotte.
Porque creo que a veces nos olvidamos de nuestros jóvenes y de nuestras personas mayores. Y creo que, como siempre lo he dicho, las personas mayores son son la historia de estos vecindarios y los jóvenes son el futuro de estos vecindarios o barrios.
We tend to forget these two groups. The elders are the history and knowledge of the community, and the youth is the future. That's it.
So doing this in a different way, bringing our elders and our youth and listening to them is I think is something very important that can bring their voices also to the project. I started with a cafecito for elders. We did our first one last Wednesday, I believe, and we had eight women. I think it was 8 or 7. And it was so much fun because they were sharing their adventures, their histories, their stories, and also they were talking about how everything has changed in their neighborhood. So it was a great conversation, and also they were very interested in also being part of this project. How can they become a Black captain? How can they do more? Because they say they didn't know nothing about the project, so they were more interested in knowing more. And so we did different activities. I gave them copies of the map and everything and what they wanted to see on the map. I did 2 other activities of the things they wanted to see at the triangle, and it was great to see like they all want different things, but most of they wanted housing for elders. They want community centers for elders. Like they were more focused on them on what they need as elders. So it was so satisfying and great to listen to them and being able to be there and share this project in a way that they can understand it, in a way that they can get also involved in the project. Also, we've been participating at Huerta Urbana Focus Points and also at the second Saturday. But on Fridays on Huerta Urbana, I'm also doing the mapping thing. So everyone that comes to the table, they participate, they put whatever they want to see on the map, and then they put their names also. And I suggested that if they can put their names and their neighborhood only, they don't have to put their address or anything, just to show that there is people doing it. It's not me just filling it out. It's just residents that are doing that. So and people are participating, people are more involved. There's people that talks more than 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes because they're talking about their experiences and we have to listen. It's not like, okay, this is the project, this is what we're doing and that's it. No, it's about listening to our neighbors. And that's, like I said, that's a very important part of this project, listening to our neighborhoods because to our neighbors, because there was nothing like this before. There was not really a process like this before where we can listen to our neighbors, where they were able to express themselves and their needs and their frustrations and also the connection that they have between the 3 neighborhoods. So I guess it's been a very satisfying part of the project. Even though I was a block captain, this part that connects with our elders and our youth is I think is also so ¿cómo se dice? Gratificante.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
thank you.
Sandra, that's great. And just as a reminder, make sure that you share all that with Elizabeth. That sounds like a really great meeting. And as we go forward, if we need to, if you have another meeting with the elders and we want to, come and talk, or that we want to come and listen, that's great too. So that's really a good part of the community that is sometimes not that easy to reach. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome. We're gonna do the next one on the 19th, which is gonna be at Valdez Library at 10 a.m. So you're welcome to come. Like I that's something that I also wanted, because you have more information, you have more of the technical part and everything. So if you guys want to come to the meeting, I mean, you're welcome to do so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. So you shared one thing that excites you. Thank you so much. Are there any recommendations or for future conversations, anything you want to include there?
Anyone?
I'd like to piggyback on Sandra's comment there. But I'll let you address what excites you most about what's ahead, and then come back on the recommendation to manage the future conversations. One of the things that's so exciting, and I like to hear Mike Bouchard comment on this, is that moving forward with the Triangle's workforce development project, if we can get, since this project is being directed from the mayor's office, if we can get a mandate from the mayor's office from a workforce development standpoint, that all the residents must be employed on working these projects. Because before, I'm not sure how many workers the GAS coalition gets or hires. Maybe Nola, you could comment on this, or from the neighborhood. We have a pre-apprenticeship program that we're kicking off, and it's been really successful. So much so that the mayor has interest. He's been here twice already within the last 4 weeks, and I just want to capitalize on his excitement, but build on that even more and challenge the mayor to say, hey, all these projects, all these workers, they got to come from GES, Elyria, Swansea, and Globeville. And that should be a mandate in those contracts that are going out. Not a percentage, 15, 20, no, everybody, at least 75, 80%. And we have the resources, or in the process of getting these resources, to enable and educate the youth so they can participate via trades or licenses, so they'd be able to get establish a skill and break the cycle of poverty that's in our neighborhood. What recommendations do we have to manage future conversations? Again, the local schools can, from a workforce development standpoint, they're really engaged. The two local high schools, Colorado Charter High School and Bruce Randolph, are really engaged in what we are doing. And I like to see that process just get echoed throughout the whole Triangle process. And along with what AE is saying, I don't say bad comments, I say constructive comments. And I think we just need to build on the inertia that we got moved forward. And the Triangle needs to be committed for all the energy that you're putting forward, and just build on this energy moving forward. That's the way I see it. And I think it's really cool. That's happening right now. Mike, can you comment on that workforce development piece, please?
Yeah, Armando, I appreciate the comment. There's certain legal requirements that we have with city contracts. That is a framework we need to work within, but we will absolutely take that back and see what we can do within the contracts we do have to be able to maximize the local participation in the workforce, like you mentioned.
Thank you.
Yeah, question?
I just kind of want to understand where we're at. Are we in the open discussion?
Yes.
Right now? Okay.
Well, we're in.
We
haven't got to that part yet.
Yes, yeah, we haven't got to.
Yeah, we're just in the organizations reporting out and the block captains reporting out, and then we have some more info to share. So
My adjustment is made.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yes.
I really appreciate your comments, Armando, about wanting to have guarantees for jobs, and someone like myself who hasn't been here that long, it does seem like this is a long-standing conversation that doesn't ever really come to fruition. And I hear you, Mike, on complications in the contracts, but I've been in meetings where there've been other conversations about other creative ideas, like could people in the neighborhoods be guaranteed a job, right? And, or like a portion of time when people are able to get an interview. And a lot of what happens that I have observed is like a conversation just like this, where someone makes a comment that's really important. You say you'll take it back, then it gets memorialized in a contract that like we're not a party to, we don't participate in. And so then it's not memorialized anywhere or enforceable, and it becomes an empty promise. And so, actually, so to the question, that's why I am actually excited though about talking about community benefits and financing and the ways in which those things are going to be memorialized and enforceable. Because I would say particularly on the financing piece from the perspective of the CIF, like that's our role and that's an important piece for us. And that's the way also the things on the campus are affordable for people. But I just really want to raise that, that not like that the information from these meetings actually gets put somewhere and actually is tangible in people's lives, because it's a long period of time, it seems, where ideas come up like that are good and then they don't actually come to fruition.
And you're correct, Shannon. And I'll give you an example. Right now, the Equestrian Center and the 200 unit hotel, 50% of that workforce has to come from these three neighborhoods. But it's up to the general contractor or the prime contractor to select those individuals. They manipulate that data. They manipulate the workers, how they get them into these jobs. I don't know how the GES coalition does it, but you know, that's how these workers do it. But it's up to us as residents, as you say, to hold these contractors accountable and make sure that they are hiring within the community. And the only way we can do that is look at the workforce that the people that they're hiring, where they're from, and make sure they come from the neighborhood. So you're right. I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes, just so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
Yep.
all right. So can I just jump in a little bit? Okay. Regarding workforce development, I'm yelling, so I'm back here. I hope the cows can hear me down the road. I just want to say that in the early discussions of the National Western Center campus, there were mandates throughout the discussion that were structured in for local hiring in the 80216 and maybe the 80205. I followed that closely. I followed the recruitment. I followed all kinds of things. And I think that getting the word out about the jobs for people to come in from the neighborhoods and apply for them was one of the biggest problems in getting the hiring statistics up. Armando and others, there's some good individual projects here, but there was a whole dynamic that I was hoping for, and I still hope can happen, where the three partners at the Western Center campus, the Stock Show, the Colorado State University, and the County of Denver, had a dynamic of helping the concept of job skills, workforce development be a broader menu or scope for people to see what they could do. There's a lot to discuss here. I'm not sure, it kind of sounds a little bit, Armando, like a false equivalency to me, comparing GS coalition to hiring in the private sector. I'm not sure what you're getting at, but I think it needs to be clarified, and I think it needs to be said that the policies and the laws that Mike was alluding to have some problems in it that we need to overcome in the same way that when affordable housing is funded in a way where, for example, Habitat for Humanity can't prioritize local residents. We need to work these things through, get to the laws, and work collectively to do this. Whether or not a nonprofit group or another organization, any other group does X amount of hiring, everybody can be involved in workforce development alliances. I've seen several groups working in the schools. There's 3 or 4 models out there that I know of, and I feel like we need, 15 more, and there's lots of things. And one last thing, I'm not arguing and I'm not being contentious, I'm being sincere here. I am not a fan of going to the mayor's office or the Vatican for that matter, to ask for an endorsement of a project. I'm not in favor of that. What I want to do is a process like this, where we are together, talking with each other, and where we looked at a whole representation of creative ideas and diplomatic discussion, and then we say, all right, now let's put together the financial strategy to bring about a scaled up capacity to respond to many things that need to be done simultaneously. And that's what I'm hoping for. That's why I want to hear the ideas of people. I want to hear their thinking and their reasoning. And one last thing, I went in the early stages of the National Western Center. I went and sat with one of the, I'm trying to remember his name, it'll come to me. One of the, I think he just retired, one of the Western Stock Show Association board members, Grant. What's his first name? Say what? Pat Grant. And I took the paperwork from the Auraria campus when they displaced people down there and said, we're gonna do scholarships for the people. But the problem with that was they were going to do scholarships for the people that were displaced in education, the higher education. The problem was they could only get those scholarships when they built the Auraria campus, and then they could use them there. So I took that paper early, those papers, I went early to the process and sat with him at the old offices and said, and I still got the paperwork, I said, we can do this now. It doesn't have to be limited to when CSU builds. It doesn't have to be, because you're actively in the agricultural industry. You don't need to make the same mistake. And bless his heart, it was premature, but I still want to say that's how I feel we should be taught. Is in the generally broad scoped, comprehensive application of education, experience, hand-on, not targeting just individual projects, not getting individual projects endorsed, getting a collaborative economy where there's many things going on. That's what a dynamic neighborhood and city and collection of neighborhoods can become. So I say, let's all support all of them and figure out what the total is that fills in the many possibilities that have to be responded to in different ways. So that's my offering, and that's how I'm talking to people out there, so.
Thank you, AE.
And just to say, AE, your memory is correct. The National Western Center did participate in the workforce development pilot program prior to it becoming an ordinance where there were local zip code requirements. I think that proved a challenging requirement to meet. And so that's why it did not get memorialized in the ordinance, is my understanding from Vito. But as the National Western Center, there was a local zip code requirement and definition program.
And we all know that more can be done, and lots of ways to do it. We've got to learn from that. We could revisit that and come up with some solutions.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to add to AE's comment is that we mean UCAN and the pre-apprenticeship program that I'm working with right now. We are working with District 7 Flow over there and working with the new women's soccer stadium to be able to integrate some of the pre-apprenticeship programs and OSHA certification programs that we're currently doing in GES and offer that. And hopefully some of our own residents can seek out some more work over at the new women's soccer stadium. So we are looking at that process as well. Thank you for that comment.
I think there is a comment in here. From Nola, Armando, I agree, want to do this as much as possible. Washington has been challenging to get the GC to hire locals as subs. We did get a couple, but some folks couldn't do the bid online or get the NWC certification. And so there's still a lot of work to do to get it to work better. And we have talked about a directory of local businesses and contractors and skills, etc. That would be great, and we would do all we can to hire local splits to big up. Great, thank you for sharing, Nola and Armando. Any other orgs that want to chime in on these two questions?
How much time do we have left?
Well, we got 45 minutes.
Yeah, about 10 minutes. I think for the specific portion, probably like an additional 5 minutes, and then we'll want to go into the discussion.
Or we can go.
Sandra, thank you, Councilor Andres.
Yeah, I just have a question. Are we gonna have a workshop about the workforce too? Because I think that's an important part also, how our community can be part also of the, como se dice, development of this project. Because we've been talking about housing and other things, but I think also one of the important things I know is being able to create work on our jobs on in our neighborhood. So are you thinking about doing a workshop just focusing on that part? Because I think if there's gonna be something about getting jobs and everything, I think it has to be open to every resident. Because we don't want to, como se dice, exclude anyone. We want to be able to have it open as the process that we did with, como se llama, the question center. That was one of the things that I even told that we need more jobs for our residents, and higher jobs, better pay. Because yeah, sometimes we see that our community get como se dice, los trabajos menos pagados. Oh my God, my Spanish and English are not working today. But yeah, I mean, are you guys planning to do a workforce workshop?
So I'm gonna walk through what is coming. We don't have a workshop on workforce development right now, but that's definitely a good topic. And actually, that's something that needs to move forward as we get through the plan and we have something. You know, we don't have any contracts yet. We don't have it's just the plan. So let's just figure out where that makes the most sense. I mean, I think that's a great idea. I think maybe not yet, but definitely yes.
Can I bring one thing forward directly in relationship to that, the workforce, what Sandra was saying? There's another element of conversation over the course of standing this project up, where groups like Fengate and other contractors express commitment to helping people jump through the hoops, get their small businesses certified. It's not, I think it's much preferable. I'm concerned, with all due respect to the good of any program, I'm concerned about hearing that there's been some things accomplished here in Globeville area Swansea with the workforce, and they might benefit from it over in association with the stadium. I'm concerned that we're getting a, I want everybody to have opportunities, but I want us to work together as a free capital partner project in Canvas, using the contractors and the private enterprise or wherever, using the partnerships to create an ongoing incubator, mentoring, vital pipeline of education, apprenticeships, and that kind of thing. There's lots to discuss there, and it's not so much singular programs. But one of the things I was excited about with Fengate, and I don't know if we can talk about what we can talk about, Steve may get updated, and I'm kind of waiting to be able to jump into that, is, and there was, when the contractors bid on the apartment complex on Washington that you were talking about, Noel, there's a lot of lip service, and I'm not saying Fengate or the other companies do lip service, I just haven't seen it happen. And a huge part of the time I spend out in the neighborhoods is helping people get up on portals, helping people get permits, helping people get licenses, helping people get into things. That's it, and it's phenomenal how difficult it is for people, even if they can do astrophysics or something. So I want to ask for, in this forum, I want it to be an apprenticeship, how people get to bring about their small businesses. And I think Fengate, my impression was Fengate was sincere when they were here in the early stages about participating. And I want to challenge that and bring it out, because, you know, I can help organize a workshop right now where we can bring people in And within an hour and a half, they're gonna know how to set up everything from the Secretary of State to getting their permits, their licenses, their health certificates, certification, all kinds of things. It does not have to have so much religion. And I'm saying this a little bit out of some emotion because of how that post and nest thing was processed, which is one other thing I want to say, and I think the people that facilitating understand. We could have done that post and nest presentation with a directory of everything collected together with all the resources, talked in that room, hey, think about what it is that you need to advance your life and stabilize your situation. And we can talk about where you find it in this booklet, and you can take it away with you, and you can talk to your neighbors, and you can call the numbers, and you can get follow-up, rather than, that's apprenticeship. That is informing, that is giving resources, that is activation. I really hope we get there. And I really hope we get there. And I collected all the papers that were there on Nest and Host. I want us to do things like that. So I'm gonna ask Beth if we can integrate into that conversation about a workforce workshop or whatever, the true enterprising elements of an entrepreneurial life on a neighborhood level with the more linear development of job acquisition and outputs together. But that to me was a huge part of what the opportunity was and hasn't yet become with the National Western Center campus.
And there was a comment from Nola too, especially if we got a contract.
Some things to say.
Yeah.
Well, the leaders that are in here, I think we have to be very careful in these negotiations with if we want people to work from the company. Because it would be very disappointed that we cannot support people that is taking advantage of our hardworking people and just kind of negotiate their prices, because with big companies, they don't negotiate. So we want everybody to be careful of that and just pay attention that we're not gonna allow anybody to, how should I say that? What dicen en español? Que menosprecie el trabajo de los residentes de aquí y empiezan a negociar sus precios y lo dejan lo más barato, pero con otras compañías no se ponen a negociar. Entonces yo creo que nosotros deberíamos de apoyar al
We just don't want them to undervalue or put the price on or a budget on their work when they don't have other contractors or workers.
Yo creo que como líderes deberíamos de apoyar a la gente y que sea prioridad para que tenga acceso a estos trabajos, pero tampoco permitir que se aprovechen de las personas y negocien su trabajo, que tienen un trabajo muy duro y trabajan, y aparte también muchos sabemos dónde podemos agarrar una LLC para poder ayudar a la comunidad. Hay organizaciones que lo están haciendo, sabemos dónde podemos ir para agarrarlos. Entonces nada más es que tengamos el contacto, quiénes son las personas que quieren ir, y nosotros podemos proveer o mismos llevarlas a la que nos parece. Pero no permitir que se negocie el trabajo de los trabajadores. Eso sí, ni pequeños negocios, nada. Porque eso sería un abuso.
Just again, that part summarized in the not allowing them to put a price or budget or negotiate the pricing. Because it's basically the game, so. Whatever. Yeah, just not put a set value, set price on it. Why work very hard. That's. And we know a couple organizations that we work with that we can take them, help them obtain their elements.
Yeah, which gets to from what Amy was saying about apprenticeship and helping folks organize their small business and having the opportunity to go after these contracts.
And if I may, if a request for proposal comes out for a major project, which is going to happen, everything that we're talking about, whatever comes up on the triangle is going to be built. And it's going to be part of the safeguards to exactly what you're talking about, Nancy, is those are teams. Those are people that come together as groups, there's a financial aspect there. This is part of what we need to workshop to understand. Whether or not somebody does an LLC or is incorporated, there's pros and cons to each one. So, and how do you partner in the constellation of groups that respond to the RFP? And NOLA and the GS Coalition of folks that won the RFP over there at the apartments at 50th in Washington, that's a team of what, four or five components. So there's laws, there's agencies. What you're saying is a real danger, but the isolation has, the undervalued is what I mean. The undervalued, that's a real danger. You're right. But what I'm saying is the context of what we have here automatically has solutions to that if the laws based on where the money is coming from for these projects, the agencies in the city around equity and wage and protection from wage theft and all that, and getting ourselves fully aware of the power of the request for proposal response with teams. So we become teams sometimes with really huge corporations, et cetera, but equal teams on that project. So anyway, I don't want to go, but there's ways where it's like force multiplying. So you need to get more protection. So you get fair wages and equity and the hiring and that kind of thing. So we can build that into the workshop forums, how to approach partnership in major RFPs. One of the art installations at the National Western Center campus involved, I'm trying to remember, a massive fabrication and stuff like that, then you can partner, and then there might be this individual artist, and they become force multipliers. The potential is tremendous, and the protections are very relevant to what you're saying there.
So what I'm hearing is there is a need, and so I think we as a company will take back what that looks like as a workshop for these various topics, as we think about what's ahead as well.
And there's solution.
And so need and solution, yes. Any last comments from any of the orgs?
Okay. All right, so this is very, very simplistic, but I want to just walk through what is coming as we head into the fall. So August, this is our August 4th guidance team. That's where it's starting. Next Thursday, the 13th, we do have another housing workshop. That's the idea. It'll be our 4th housing workshop. So, but I felt like we needed to explore a lot of the solutions. We still have some to explore and to bring information on and to discuss. And so this workshop might take a little different format, and we might have a lot of info for people and be able to have some smaller scale conversations around options for housing choices. So it's really just the opportunity to kind of round out that housing conversation. What is that a Tierra Click? Let me go back to that for a second. The same date as our Tierra Click. Okay. Yeah, sorry, Nola. I know we are juggling so many needs and dates. Okay, let me work on that. Okay. So yeah, we don't want to pull anybody away from orientation. So, okay, let's work on that. So anyway, housing workshop 4, which might be a different date, or we'll figure out how to handle that. We are having a council briefing, and Mike, welcome to jump in on that one.
Yeah, so we've been requested to provide an update to city council at the mayor council committee on Tuesday, 25th of August. That's at 9:30 at the city county building, the Par Widener room. So we will be presenting an update on the process, where we're at, and briefing council on how the community outreach and engagement and planning process are proceeding. So just want to make sure everyone's aware. Obviously, if that's a public committee meeting, it'll be on December 8th as well. So invite you to either show up and listen, log in and watch. Just want to make sure everyone's aware.
No decision making, just process update.
Mike?
Yes.
Is there an ability for people to come comment from the neighborhood or from the neighborhoods or the participants, or is there a way to integrate direct, engagement between some of the block captains and captains for the actual front line, you know, is there a way to democratize this a little bit?
I asked that question, and the structure of the committee meeting itself does not have an open public comment component. But there may potentially be ways to have guest speakers or something along those lines. So we're looking at that right now.
Or maybe an aggregated
Yeah.
document of feedback
Yes.
that covers a range of things that I'm not sure how we.
We would love to have block captains and community orgs there, and campus partners as well. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Follow up too, when we watch these things, that kind of thing. You can always supplement it after the fact, just so everybody knows. But I'm just saying sometimes it's helpful to see the.
Like really like this. Yeah, so let's work on, you know, that could be a sheet of folks saying things if we can't get guest speakers, or maybe we can get guest speakers. So Michael, keep working on what the options.
Is anyone online? Something?
Or just mute, okay. Okay, so that is August. So then at the end of August, we would love to host our first benefits workshop, which is the community benefits. So kind of transitioning from housing and moving into the next piece of our conversation. And so that's a big one. We will work through our housing discussion and how to handle that, but I would love to get us moving on to benefits by the end of August. So the 27th, if that works, please comment. If it doesn't, we can shift things around. Then we get into September, okay? We have our guidance team meeting. And again, we've heard you. We are working on moving this guidance team to be more of your opportunity to guide us in the process and to have a voice in how we're conducting this process. So that's kind of the forum we're working toward. And in that vein, we have some questions tonight. The second part of our benefits and funding and financing, you know, those are the two pieces that are left in our sandwich. Remember our sandwich? That we are proposing to be September 17th. So obviously these are all have a little flexibility. So please just look against your own calendars and let us know. And then as we come out of our benefits and our funding workshops, we're ready to start prepping for, I want to just draw you over to October. We are moving toward the end, mid to late October, the scenarios workshop and the second survey. And that's a big milestone. So again, check that date. If we can't hold the 20th, we'll bump it, we'll move it. But that is what we're moving toward. And the scenarios workshop is the opportunity to take all these pieces of things we've been talking about, the infrastructure, the roads, all the site priorities, the land use options, the housing, and these benefits we're going to move into, and really pull it all together. And so that's a big milestone in our process, is what all did we learn? What did we like? What did we not like? And how does that site start all coming together? And sometimes what we find is, well, we can't do every single thing we talked about. Maybe we have to make this a little smaller in order to get what we like here, or that's where our sandwich building will be, right? Where everybody's going to get to start thinking about how those pieces come together. So in preparation for the scenarios workshop and the launch of survey number 2, we have right now a survey prep meeting on September 24th. As you know, that would be a way to do this, and we're going to talk about this. So, and we have another survey prep meeting on the 13th of October. So 2 opportunities to meet and go through the survey and talk about it. But this is a question for you as we move forward. So just hold that thought for now. So we would build in some time to develop and coordinate on this survey, much like we did before, or as you see fit. And then we launch the scenario workshop. We launch the survey, and it stays open through, say, the end of November. and the block captains are active and they're out in the community, really trying to get answers and to the survey. And the survey is also a reflection of the scenarios. So how do you build out the site and get everything in? And then ultimately we go to our guidance team in December. And then it goes on, but I just ended it there to say that's kind of what fall looks like. And we have a lot of meetings and a lot of work to do and a lot of hard conversations to bring it all together. And that's really that's what we're moving into. So, we're happy to take comments on this, and please let us know in the chat or just email me, but we'll finalize this. And then let's move forward because what I really want for you guys to think about. So this is our sandwich, right? Remember? And we'll have gone through all our layers and we'll be ready to really talk about how the site comes together. And I want to just bump forward for 1 second. And then this is our new graphic. This is the sandwich making. So it's time for us to take all those things we learned about those layers and start building the site. Like what do we like, right? What do we want? What do we like? And so the questions I had for you tonight, which I know we're a little behind on our timing, but I would love to hear from the guidance team, right? And everybody online, what are your thoughts around putting together the workshop, this big public facing workshop where we're going to do our sandwich making, where we're going to start pulling all these pieces together. And so, and this is where I'm like, I think this group needs to tell us how we might think about these things and give us some thoughts so that we're reflecting a process that works for you. I'm just going to throw out, here's some thoughts I had, like, I don't know, maybe we could have information around the room about all those different layers of the sandwich. So reminders about all the stuff we've talked about. That's probably helpful because you won't remember so many layers. Then maybe you go around and you think through your own process. How do I bring these? Maybe you have a map and you build your layers. Maybe you build the pieces of your site. What matters to you? What are the decisions that you are thinking about? You could build the layers at the stations. We could have parts and pieces that allow you to do that, and much like Our Lady there. We could also have group tables where you can have those discussions, but we want you to feel like you can also have your own individual voice, right? So it doesn't have to be a group voice. You get your own individual voice too. So what works for you? What do you like? To get to Nancy's point, if you're a family person that wants apartments, but you feel the folks that you're sitting with are really about single family, that's okay. All comments are good and all pieces of this can work together. So I would love to just open this up for a minute and see if anybody has thoughts or ideas about how we start to prep for this big workshop, because it'll be kind of a big one. I don't know if we can do it in one. It could end up being two, but let's just say it's one for now. Yeah.
Could you go back to the timeline?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. So that workshop that I was just talking about is at the end of October, somewhere in here, 20th of October, could be a little later, whatever.
So I guess I just want to clearly understand what the relationship between the survey prep meetings, the 24th and the 13th, do to inform or help build towards the 20th.
Yeah.
Because when I look at this, it's not very clear. Because my understanding also is that survey number 2 is supposed to be about scenarios.
It is.
But the way that it was talked about not that long ago is that the survey would help inform the scenarios.
Yes.
And that the scenarios are supposed to be built on the accumulation of all the workshops that have happened so far. But the way that, and maybe I'm misunderstanding that, but the way that this is being presented, my understanding is that the 20th is when we'll build scenario.
Uh-huh.
And I guess that seems redundant.
Okay.
In the sense that, like, isn't that what
What
the
we-
first series of 4 months of workshops was supposed to help inform?
Yeah,
To get to some draft scenarios,
yeah,
and then it's only one workshop. I'm glad that you acknowledge that it might take more than one,
yeah.
but. And then the survey opens that day, but
So that
the
people can
scenario,
weigh in on this.
yeah, but okay, so the scenarios aren't defined by the 20th. Am I understanding that clearly?
So this is a great question. Okay, and I did, can everybody online hear? Because this is a very good question.
Yes, we
We
can
have
hear.
been, okay, so we have been talking about all the layers of the sandwich, right? And how all those layers come together is that building of the scenarios. I think we will have talked about enough that if it's your preference, that we go ahead and build out a handful of scenarios, just so that people have something to look at and react to and say no or yes. I think we could do that. And bring that to the scenarios workshop, and then everybody can weigh in and talk and go through it. I didn't want to assume that all the things that you're telling us, I mean, you also could build your own scenario, right? Like you could take all the meetings we just had and a few more that we gotta go, and you could put together your own scenario for the site and say, I think this is how all those pieces fit. And then we collect that, or, you give it to us. So it is a question and it's a good question. Because we can go either way. And if we feel that the scenarios workshop should be a weighing in on some drafts, very drafts, like we put one together like this and one together like this, based on everything we've heard, that can be okay too. I'm happy to do it that way too.
Well, I'm curious to hear what other people have to say, but
Yeah.
I guess maybe it's just because we haven't gotten to that point yet, but when the GS Coalition first brought the idea of scenario planning, the sticking point is that the city won't tell us what they want. And we've touched on it in some pieces, right? Like, well, there's some definite horizontal infrastructure, sewage, and these rearrangements that have to happen. But then it's also like, I don't want to get to that point with my neighbors. And then the city tells us after we build these different scenarios, what the city's position on its public assets are, which we've already seen in these public meetings is going to be a sticking point.
Yeah.
And the thing that I lament years ago, this is prior to this process, is when we did the community vision that we worked on and spent hundreds and thousands of hours on as neighbors, we went to the city and we asked them to look at it and then put their cards on the table too. And so I feel like a part of that still isn't occurring, and maybe it will come, and maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself.
No.
But I think like to talk about any realistic scenario that won't just get thrown out the window because the city hasn't clearly said, well, according to the Stock Show Association, we really think that this is the preferred place for an arena. Well, according to our partners at CSU, they wanna build something else here. I think they have all their assets, but I'm just making examples of this. And so I think it would be beneficial, whether it's during the survey or somewhere in this process, to clearly, like at some point, the city has to put their cards on the table.
Yeah.
Like clearly, not like,
Yeah,
like.
just like we've done everything else, right? Like we're
Yeah.
talking about roads, we're gonna talk about, so I definitely agree. And we sort of introduced that when we started the process, right?
Yeah.
And then we've built out some of these other layers, and we do need to come back. And maybe this is this optional workshop here that I've been trying to figure out. We need to come back with public assets more definitively, not just an arena, but definitively that can fit into a scenario. We need to come back with transportation and parking specifically. And so, great point. And we have to do that. And we've had a request that we, just acknowledge the environmental work. That was one of the things that came up in one of our first workshops, right? And so there are some there's some pieces that we haven't circled back on yet. I totally agree. And that could be here at the end of September as we are making our way through benefits and funding and some of these additional pieces that we kind of need to come back to. Agreed.
Yeah, the last
Yeah.
thing I'll say, because I don't want to take up space,
Yeah.
is that this is me speaking as an individual, not for any organization, including my own. But I feel like the responsible thing for the city to try to do without imposing its own vision is that you have months of feedback and workshops to draw from. And if the non-negotiables for the city pertains around the environmental cleanups, the public assets, then you should be forthright with what you're, based on the process so far, what you're conceptualizing. And not for it to be a declarative scenario and you can only vote on this, but so that we have an actual idea of where the city's coming from too.
Yep.
Because it has to be a two-way street.
Yeah.
And the thing I've enjoyed about the process is that we've had the opportunity to input, that you've listened a lot to the community. But I want to see it reflected as out of respect to the people that have contributed so far and put the cards on the table too.
Yeah.
And that'll be a much more productive discussion, in my opinion, than like, I guess when I look at it right now, and I know some of these questions are being addressed right now, like that's setting it up to be a chaotic workshop. Where we're gonna build our scenarios together, and then the city will have to come back and be.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
this can't work because of this can't work because of that.
I do agree with you. And we don't want that to be what happens at the scenario workshop, regardless of whether we have some drafts or we build them or however we run the workshop. Before we get to a scenarios workshop where we all need to understand all the pieces. And so that includes coming back on with the public assets or the parking or whatever is needed. And even some of that transportation that we know is going to be a component. And just like you guys have been sharing your thinking around like, well, what matters about housing? Where does it go? How do we think of it? We need to bring our thinking about what are our options and thinking around these assets. So that has to come before we get here. Absolutely. So funding, so benefits, funding and finance, and maybe the circling back on the assets. Like maybe those are the three pieces that still have to occur. That's still a lot of work, but that's what we need to do the same thing on our side, is to bring that and have that conversation. And that's what AE was like, well, we need to know what you're thinking. Like, how are you thinking about things? Why are you thinking that? That's the same thing we need to be able to bring to you guys.
So when do you think that will be possible?
When? Yeah, so I think, well, that's what I'm saying. I think, sorry, you can't see, but if we move into our benefits conversation at the end of August, and then in September, maybe, I don't know about that. Maybe that moves. Maybe in September, we need to hit the rest of those workshops and roll that piece in, because I don't know, it's a lot. I just feel like it's so much, right? We're just trying to fit it all in, but I do feel like we have to have all of those pieces talked about before we can get to our scenarios workshop.
So you think maybe like beginning October would be realistic?
I don't know. I just go and go and go. So I don't know. I try. Yes, October would be awesome for me, but maybe, yeah, into September, we need to do it before we get to scenarios.
Your line of questioning and comment also is like kind of making me think more about questions around these benefits and funding and finance workshop, because I think similarly, if those workshops are just like sessions where people just say like, we would like jobs and we would, like a community space on the campus, like that is a very similar workshop that has been run here for many years. But what the information that is needed there too is like, well, how much money is going to go into environmental mitigation? Like, where is the financing coming from to build these public assets? What does that trigger in terms of additional commitments and benefits to folks here? Like, which all goes in to the
To the whole
scenarios,
package,
you know?
yeah.
So I understand that it's challenging and a lot of work is what I'm hearing from you, and I think it's concerning too, if those workshops just become like an area where people just like give a lot of ideas without a lot of context. The
Yeah.
housing piece, you know, what is actually affordable and what kind of financing can the city put up to make that affordable?
Yeah. So we don't always have every answer yet, you know, so sometimes it's kind of hard to answer. Like, I don't know, like, what is the whole combination of financing that can do all these various housing choices that we're talking about? Well, I don't know if we have that yet, but maybe what we need to do is look through our conversation around what are those benefits. And I know you've had that and we have a good sense, but we do need to confirm that what are those benefits? And maybe what are those assets? And then we kind of roll into some more of that financing and funding discussion, because then we have a full picture of everything.
Yeah, I guess I just really want to highlight and emphasize, like, it really is like yeah, like, we need information that's not big. You're going to build an arena, okay, where are you going to put it, so that we can understand, if you have a set place that you're going to put it, you're going to pay for the arena. You know, how are you going to pay for it?
So maybe what we need to find out is, because I do understand that there's a lot of hats that are worn here. So maybe identifying who's in charge of what. So who do we need to contact? And what's the pipeline look like that we need, who do we need to contact? And who needs to sit down in this meeting? So we can identify what that looks like, so we can get answers, because I do understand you don't have all the answers.
Yeah, we might not, like, you know, there's this is getting us to a plan. And then there's implementation of that plan, which is very distinct, and so some answers may follow as we go forward, and we figured out, all right, we're all great, this is pretty good, this is where we want to go with things. And then we need to keep working on how to make that all happen. So we not have all the answers, right, as we are right now, but we can understand the combination of things and how things come together.
Can I offer something for your consideration?
Yeah.
Because I don't personally don't feel like you need to rework your entire wheel here. But I feel like, to Shannon's point, that like the financing and benefits are inherently tied to the reality around what's on the table. And I don't think it's necessarily wrong to have those in August and September, but they're going to be short-sighted and ill-informed
if we don't have
those, or and it's okay to a degree, because I think there's an opportunity, not to make more work for you all, to mirror it after the workshop, after the scenario planning, to revisit benefits, to revisit financing, having a more complete picture.
Absolutely.
In the lead up to that, right? And then it kind of changes the dynamic of how you're approaching the first benefits workshop, the first finance workshop, where it becomes that baseline context.
Yeah.
But if you're leaving it so that we will revisit it when there's some scenarios defined, because I guess what excites me about scenario planning, ideally, is that we're actually testing each scenario. How many benefits can we get in this scenario?
Right.
How many jobs does this produce?
Yeah.
What kind of housing does this produce, and how much? How much is it actually affordable for each one of those scenarios, so that there's more of a scientific process behind determining beyond what feels good,
right,
what's anecdotal.
I like this. Yeah.
And
what it's getting.
What is it actually getting? How are we actually having concrete conversations about how each scenario will actually benefit or not benefit? What's its positive, what's its negatives, and to what he's talking about, like, there isn't anything off the table, and that these disagreements and these different scenarios can actually produce a different solution.
Right.
And so that's something that I'd like to advocate for, is that like you can just mirror towards the tail end of the process and probably even close it out with a final survey. before the final site recommended plan
Right.
is determined.
Right, so. So in that vein, does it make more sense, and it might, given the way you're talking about that, to bring a range of draft scenarios to the scenarios workshop? So rather than you, Shannon, going around and coming up with your own site plan, so to speak, we bring them and they highlight some of those benefits, pros and cons, say, of each one, right? Like this one relies more on this and it uses more space for X, Y, and Z, and so you get a little bit less of this. In this case, you get more room for this, but you have less whatever.
Yeah.
I guess that is, it's a real question. Yeah.
The way I would phrase that, is trying to find a way, is the comparative benefits of different solutions.
Yeah.
And I think that what Alfonso and what you're saying here is bringing it to a focus where it can become measurable while still being creative. And I think fundamentally, if we're talking in terms of land use, not projects within a cluster of projects, we're talking about land use. And I want to know acreage. I want to know, one of the things I can't answer in my mind tonight, and maybe I'm just missing it, if we have 3 different types of housing, for example, what acreage can be this type of housing? What acreage can be owned by a community land trust? What acreage can be these types of privately owned? What acreage can be whatever? And you know, that to me is part of what we need to know. What is the negotiable non-negotiable? Where does the city stand?
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm finding is in the neighborhoods that are causing people to not be able to communicate is that there's a thinking competitively. Oh, somebody wants all of the land to be 3,500 square foot privately owned homes. Somebody wants all of the land to be in the public community land trust. Somebody wants all of the homes to be affordable apartments. And that's not what's happening.
No, it's
So-
right.
So
A lot of things.
what I would suggest that we do is let's, I think a site plan that says, here's the territory available, starting with the soil and the acreage. You know, if we're talking about housing, and I don't know if I'm even understanding how this is decided, but I think it has to be, we need it to be grounded. Okay, have we arrived? We can say 40 acres is going to be housing. Let's talk about the comparative benefits of the different types of housing.
Different ways to
40 acres, we want 60 acres of enterprise. Can we fit stories of multi-use? We want a job force development center that's a combined this and that. I want a public benefits corporation that brings businesses right into the economic enrichment of the entire economy of the neighborhoods. It's part of a model. So anyway, if we can get real around acreage, then placement can follow. And the components take on a scale relative to each other.
Yeah.
Can I say one last thing
Uh-huh.
that I would like to recommend?
Yes.
And
all ears.
and I will not steal this idea because this is something that I heard from Luis a while ago that stuck with me, is that we've never visited the triangle together. Like, do people understand what's connectable and what's not?
Yeah.
Like, what would it look like to have housing here and a stadium here and so on and so forth? So I feel like you should find a way to integrate actual site visits. You know, like, because and I've also heard people confused in some of the workshops. They don't even know where the triangle is. Some people thought it was in Gloveville. Some people thought it was over here. Some people, you know, so demystify it. It's an actual piece of land. We can go walk on it.
Yeah.
We can go see. We can go like imagine at the very least. Like, well, if we did this scenario, this one's calling for an arena right next to the neighborhood. That doesn't feel great.
Isn't that what y'all did with those little?
That is what we did. Yeah, not to but as a part of this process, that hasn't happened.
Yeah, we haven't. We haven't been out there.
And it's probably not going to be winter anytime soon.
Right, I think
Maybe
we're
ever
clear
again.
for a while, I don't know, right? Maybe not when it's 105, but yeah, I think that's great. And definitely, maybe that is a piece of how we move through the next workshops that we need to have. I think what's we don't, these dates and everything can change, like, this is not written in stone, but we do need to get through still a handful of workshops, including our public assets revisited and coming back into the fold. And we probably need to focus on that in September-ish, maybe the first of October, but into September, so that we're set up by late October and November to have the scenario, to move into scenarios. I do want, I know we don't have to answer this, but I'm gonna think a little bit. I would love to bring some draft scenarios that illustrate, okay, we heard this is one way, we heard this, and here are the things that are associated with this one. This one has X acreage for this one has less acreage for it. I think that would be really a great way to have a more meaningful conversation. Initially, I just didn't want to overstep in assembling those,
Yeah, I think we've been very cautious
Right. Not to
go away and do a plan and bring it to you. right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
but maybe too cautious, I think is what we're hearing.
awesome.
And
Yeah.
To it.
And
Perhaps the caution is misplaced because of not understanding that there is a way that's, and this would come out of your office mind, maybe out of the real estate, strategies, out of the things that we've been asking for as a non-negotiable.
Right.
Yes, the city, people in the city, we're all the city, but yes, the city administration, the new co-office can say that there's a way to have 40 acres applied to this, 30 acres applied to this. Here are the height restrictions based on the long development of, the architectural culture of the National Western. So yes, Beth, I would really support myself, the scenario options out of the discussion, but with the reassurance that the basis of the land use has been proportioned by the people that are able to tell us the truth and accuracy
Yes.
about what is available for land.
Absolutely.
And so,
Yes.
and I think that's something that can be done at any time. It didn't have, some of it may be negotiable, but let's define the parameters of the negotiation. How much space for this, let's get to the those actual building blocks and then do the scenarios in that context.
Yeah.
I think that's largely what Alfonso's saying, what you're saying, what a lot of people are saying over time.
Okay. Okay, yes.
This might be a pipe dream and I might be out of touch in saying this, but are there tools that can be utilized to make this more acceptable in the sense of what Bay's saying of understanding like how much space there is and what the things that we would like to see, how much of that takes up that space, if where things can go. Like I'm thinking of this website that's really told me about with like just simply apartments and planning where you put your things. You can upload like a floor plan of the apartment you're moving into and say, I have an 8x5 dining table, and you can literally like take that and like arrange it on the floor plan and it'll show you how much space you have. Is that like a UI thing that's possible to put in as far as like, I remember in one of the housing workshops, we had the little cutouts of like the 2 scale size of what the cottage cluster would be, and you could put that on the map.
Right.
Like can we have something like that, but on a digital platform of just like taking those options and plugging them in and then seeing how much space is left, and maybe even in real time is adding up those stats of like, if you do this, you just now added like X number of housing units for community or whatever it may be. I don't know.
So it's a great question. If you jump forward, Elizabeth, the other question, no, keep going. The other question I had for you, and we do not have to go here tonight, but the next one down after actually just getting through the workshop, the next question after this one is, how do we start to prep for the survey? And the survey is sort of that digital platform for hearing from people about these scenarios. And it is a little complicated, right? Because you want people to weigh in on all these elements of the site and ensure that they're like, yes, we like this. And maybe there's a component of it that's somewhat like just the thing where you're able to place things and move things around. We would be open, so we have not designed the second survey, so just know. And Matt Harder is way open to ideas about what we want the survey to do. And what we want the survey to do is really dependent on how we shape the workshop. That's why I want to talk about the workshop first, because if we have just pretended simplistic and we have option A, B, C, and D, or just say, and they all have this info, then that might be a basis for the survey where you're playing with those A, B, C, and D options.
I really want to emphasize something here, that it's a distinction of what you're saying with tools. Tools can oversimplify a process. And we have tools in operation that, from the first workshop where we got to the tables and we did these guys, I want to be very careful to not let geometry and relative space use on that basis be the model. That's why I'm saying, to have a control set of parameters, this many acres, this is the underlying everything is up to 40 acres could become this. Up to 40 acres, up to 60 acres could become, we can do these with different positioning. But it's not an architectural challenge. It's a organic, economic, relational, life in operation challenge. So I definitely feel that what you're talking about can become supplemental to the focus. But I hesitate to make them the origin of the imagining. So, and I really don't want to, I'm not arguing, I want it to be enriched, you know what I'm saying? Because they can be used many ways. We already have used tools. Everything that we've been using are tools in the methodology. And if they don't, and I want us to know that and feel that. Because some of the greatest things are, the Denver Performing Arts Center was sketched on a napkin how many decades. Somebody who's got streets named after him now, I think, sitting on a curb. Sketched on a napkin, you know. So I my best work. But anyway, so I just want to say that for the workshops, I definitely think digital versatility and that kind of tool can be something that can be collaborative, amazingly helpful. I also still want to get a layered sandwich or something. I want to get a territory distinction of usage relativity, even if we don't know how it can be used. If we know the structure is going to have to be built.
Yeah, and it requires X.
Yeah.
Then we need that, yeah.
If the people that are wanting certain types of private property ownership or certain types of apartments or community land trusts want to say, we feel like the best way to put this in is this proportion of the land be used for this in combination. Then we can do the combination based on each of us coming to understand from the other how we're thinking in scale and relativity on the land use. And then we can discuss and we can make our case for the different things from each other.
Right. I do think, I do want to be respectful of everyone's time as well. I do think that this might warrant like a check-in conversation, whether it's virtually, as we think about, what comes next in the planning process, as well as like the survey report out. So whether that's, identifying another time that we can all meet together before our next guidance team meeting, or getting an update out to everyone on some of these conversations and where we're headed. I do think that there is some follow-up to be done for the planning team and on next steps. But I do want, Beth, any like last thoughts or questions as we
let's
I want to make a comment about being respectful about people's time.
Yeah.
Please take this lovingly. It is disrespectful to me to lose a half hour in the beginning because of technical things, and this has happened. And I hate saying, because I'm not, I like you, we're all people, but I don't I feel somewhat on behalf of the process kind of insulted. That we were said, okay, here, this is a new element. So can you please be with your company, as you do, committed to saying no matter what, the next meeting, if we have to come 3 hours earlier, could you please remedy that? And because when I hear you say respectful of people's time, I cannot take it seriously if that, because this is how I've seen so much treatment out here, and I hope you take it to heart in a constructive way on behalf of this process.
Okay, so let's, can someone see if anyone online has any last questions or just thoughts that we just need to be aware of? And Shannon, you had one more comment or something.
Yes, I can keep it brief and we can talk about it further, but one city process this is making me think of that I think could be useful here that maybe we can like improve upon though the outcome was the 10-year council redistricting process for the city, because it's like the creation of maps that have data layers underneath them that really affect, in that case, people's voting block power, right? In this case, we're talking about data layers underneath that would show community benefits. But what that process really became, unfortunately, was like, what map do you like the best that like keeps your neighborhoods together, you know, instead of going into that data layer. And that required some public education, you know, to like learn that tool. And there was also a tool where people could make their own maps and upload them and people then could vote on those maps. So anyway, maybe there's some like something there to look at that process and how it could be similarly used, improved upon.
Okay, I've not looked at that, so I'll check that out. Maps process, okay.
Would like to say.
Yes,
Some
yes.
extent, my concern is like, well, since I'm here as a block captain, I'm never there to give my personal opinions about the process. So my concern is like, I see it like there is too much freedom without canalization. So people are expressing all what they need. You're asking people where they would like to see things. And at the end, you will be the one that we call the cake.
Yeah.
And you will say, we need road here.
Right.
We need building here. And we need like housing here. And people will be like frustrated because all they say, all they express, you will try to respect it the most you can.
Yeah.
But there are like technical issues or constraints.
Yeah, or transportation that has to be there.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then people will be frustrated. I think there should be a kind of combination of guidance from your part and the survey to see what people want or need to see in that place.
Yeah.
And everybody or all interested part say what they need to see there.
Yeah.
Not only the neighborhood, the stock show center, what they need to see there.
Yeah.
The city, what they need to see there. Other enterprise, what they need to see there, because maybe other enterprise needs some services close to the enterprise.
Yeah.
So all interested part, not only the neighborhood, and I'm happy to see the neighbors saying what they need, but everybody.
Yeah.
All interest parts say, I need this, and you guide it. Okay, here we need roads.
Yeah.
And according to what you say, you propose 2-3 sketches.
Yeah, okay.
And people vote.
Yeah, or we talk about.
Or we work together.
We don't vote yet.
Or we work together,
Yeah.
like, okay.
And talk.
That's why we propose you for 2-3 scenarios where people have a part of two.
Yeah.
And then we discuss together. But what I'm seeing here is like, okay, this is.
Well, that's exactly right. But I love what you're saying, because that is where we're saying we need to bring those next pieces. I mean, I will say we needed to recognize the community's priorities and needs, okay? And if we didn't, we would never be asking to hear about the rest of this.
Yeah, that's a good part.
So,
It's good to
this
see
is
what-
awesome.
what
It
they
means
think
we've said, yeah, we're hearing what the community needs. And we're feeling that now we need to know the other pieces so that we can get this really real. And that's awesome. So I think that's where we need to go next. You're absolutely right. And it sounds like it's okay if I can do some of that and start bringing those pieces and pulling that together to show options.
There's an example in the
Yeah.
chat, one thing I'd like the
Okay.
facilitators to look at. There's a I just put a translation of Sandra Luis's comment at 7:39. I am not literate in Spanish. Look how easy it was for me to do that. I think we ought to translate I think we should be doing that, and it's so many close in English and they want it to be bilingual. Credit to Shannon for her community.
Yeah, that's great.
Really great translator. It just took 20 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's awesome.
Easy to do.
Okay, and I will,
German, yeah.
okay, and I will go make sure that we read through all the comments too. Okay, so, I'm gonna rework this a little bit and we'll circle back with everybody on schedule and when we roll in these pieces and how we get there. And then what that means for scenarios, like we'll get there, okay? This is really good. I hope that this conversation is more along the lines of how our guidance team can help us think about how we do this. Because we are getting into some pretty challenging conversations. And so this is so helpful to us to know where you guys are at and what you're thinking and what might work. So, and not because I'm always trying to guess, what's the right way to go about this? So this is really helpful. And so anybody else that has comments in the chat, go for it. And if you have other thoughts, don't hesitate just to email me. And this is what kind of where we are is putting this together now, this next day. So thank you. I appreciate it. It's really great.
Is it okay if I talk? Because I've been having my hand.
Oh, sorry, Sandra. We didn't
Please.
pay attention.
Go ahead.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So, listening to what everyone was suggesting and about having a guidance or a graph or things like that, just to guide the community. One of the things that I've seen that have worked a lot is how community can say what they want to see in which any of those part of the map. I don't know if I'm making myself understand. I don't know how doable is the whole map that we have that people can choose housing where the Coliseum is or a hospital where all the neighborhood is. But what I've seen is that people don't have a problem suggesting what they want and just writing it down. And I think that feels more like the community is deciding what they want to see and where they want to see it. Because most of the times we always see these projects that come and, oh, this is what we're gonna give you here and this is what we're gonna put here, and it's not what the community wants, it's what we already the whatever development or whoever entity has already for the community, and we just have to say, okay, yeah, that's where we want it because you already have it there. But now we can see residents, neighbors deciding what they want to see in each part of the map. Now, my question is it doable? Or do you have to have whatever part of whatever? Because if you already have like a graph or something to say that, oh, we need to have housing in this part, we have to have that on that part, and we're just giving false information to our neighbors where we're talking to them and telling them that they can decide to put whatever they want to see on the map, and it's not gonna happen, then I feel like we're lying to our neighbors. But if it's really open, like it shows on the map, like it's very open for people and residents to choose whatever they want to see there, I feel like they don't have a problem with that. So I think it's great how we have it right now. And if someone needs some guidance, yeah, well, you can just guide whoever you're talking to, like what I'm doing. Like sometimes some people don't know what they want, and I tell them, well, what needs do you have? And that's how they say, oh, well, my needs are this, my needs are that. Well, you should put those down, whatever you want to see them. And that's one of the things that makes our neighbors trust us, that we're not showing a map that is already created, but it's an empty map where they can be creative and choose whatever they want to see there. And I feel that that's been working, but I don't know.
Yeah, and
I
we're
don't know.
gonna keep building on that, Sandra. We're not gonna get rid of that. We're gonna keep building on that, but we are gonna add a couple roads or whatever these additional pieces that we're gonna need. So we're not changing. We're building on all those conversations we've had and the conversations that you've had with neighbors. And now we have to keep bringing more pieces to the picture, okay? And they're just, and people are saying here in the room, if you can hear, they're asking like, well, and tell us what other things, like if we have to have a road, let's identify it. Let's make sure we're accounting for that. So that it's really real, so that it's not just a map of, we want all these things. It's also grounded in, yes, you can have it, and this works, and this works, and, or this option could have you do it this way. So we'll have options to play that out based on all the conversations we've had so far and your conversations with neighbors.
Beth, can I just ask a question real quick? So I think one thing that would be helpful for myself would be if there are examples of communities, like the block captains can ask people out there, have you seen a community that you would like to see the triangle look like? And then provide the information back to people that can go look at that and see what that looks like. I don't think we're trying to reinvent a wheel here. I think the wheel's been invented. We just got to figure out where that's at and understand get a visual of what that looks like. So if there's communities that people have seen around Denver that they really like, I think it'd be good to see some of those things.
Yeah.
I'll bet you 14 cows that there will be people bringing pictures of the historical area to answer that in the early days of the stock show prior to many changes. And I hope, I can think, I bet that. So I think that's a really awesome thing to suggest. And I'd like to add that dimension as an invitation and as an enticement.
Yeah, I love it.
Combination of.
Yeah, but remember, and also if you have been around the city or in other places and there's aspects of communities that you really love, share that. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, but you're like, oh, I really like this element of this community. That would be super helpful.
Can I just say one last thing?
Yeah.
That I'd like to hear more about? I'd like to understand, well, first of all, just to answer your question, I think a lot of people would say our neighborhood, they want it to look like our neighborhood. And to Amy's point, they have pictures to point to. But this whole mile high line thing.
Yeah.
How is this impacting this process? Is it at all? Is it kind of just like a part of the puzzle piece that is already underway and just happens to fit?
Yes.
That project, okay, that's the short answer.
It doesn't have any substantive impact on this planning process is already set. We've got our mission, our goals, we know where we're headed. It fits in with a larger vision, I think, of what wants to occur in other places, but it does not substantially affect what we do.
Okay, thank you. And if it does, you'll tell us, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
If I get new information that it is going to,
And we'll back you up if you want to object, if you didn't feel as counterproductive, we'll
Agreed.
jump right in here.
We've got a good thing
Just
going.
keep going, okay?
We've got a good thing going, and
Right.
this is, honestly, I think this is sort of the leading example because of how much farther along we are than some of the other projects. And it is already setting precedent in a variety of ways, so.
I have to say, yeah, a leading example, but I don't want it to become a political headline. Is an extracted means or somebody holding branding of the campaign. I'm not gonna name names.
Yeah, we're just gonna do what we're doing, okay? We're good.
Be aware of that. It's
We're
not
just gonna
something
keep getting through that schedule.
Oh, Nola had one last comment.
Oh, yeah, Nola, sorry.
Historic is another part we have.
Yeah, I know.
Historic buildings. Like, where's the building at? The town hall is the one that I know.
It's on pallet somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got.
4701, right?
Okay,
I just wanna see it.
okay, so yes, Nola, the historic components of things as well.
Probably right.
There's always a lot to the site.
For everyone, not just.
Yeah,
Do you guys preserve the chat?
yeah, we have the chat, right? Yeah. Okay, thank you all very much for all your input and joining us tonight, and hopefully, we're gonna obviously continue talking about how we move this all forward. It's a lot, so everything you have to offer is super helpful. Okay, and we'll circle back with more. Thank you, everybody.